5 minutes in the shed. So good news is the frame is all back from powder coating now, as you can see there, looking all nice and shiny, and those are shiny black bits. So the frame's back, so I guess the first job is to prepare the swinging arm to go back in and get the headstock and the top of the forks in, ready to start building the bike back up. Right then, so you see me? So the swinging arm then, putting the bearings in the swinging arm. Now when I took the swinging arm apart, I did a bit of damage. Right now, this is, I don't know if you can see that, this is how the swinging arm's put together. Right, so we've got the two bearings here and the two bushes that sit inside the bearings, and then there's a spacer tube to stop it all being crushed. Now this spacer tube has these two washers formed onto it. Right, now, so this is the spacer tube here, right, and the spacer tube sits in the middle. These go on the outside like that, and then the bearings on those, and then we have some seals on the ends, and then these go on the ends of the swinging arm like that. Now the ones that were on this look like here. They look like that now, and the reason is when I drifted all this out, the bearings were stuck fast, good and proper. Now this will slide through the bearings, right, which isn't helpful because these are pressed on, and when you try and drift it out, this gets absolutely mangled. So I killed these. Now it must be a common thing because when I asked on a popular internet forum about how we get a new one of these, because I couldn't find one anywhere, a guy called Matthew Collins, Matthew Colling in Devon, got in touch with me, and he said, I've made loads of those because people break them all the time. He said, we used to get the old tubes and put the new washers on. So anyway, he sent me some. He sent me a bag of 4 actually. So I've got these new spacer rings, and the reason you have these spacer rings on here, kind of on that shaft there, is because inside the swinging arm this will rattle about. Right, now if that rattles about, if these aren't in alignment when they're in the swinging arm, there's no way you're going to get the shaft through. Right? So a few people made a few suggestions and they said, you want to put O-rings on it. If you put O-rings on it, it'll hold it in the middle. So I had a look through my O-ring selection. I've got a couple of O-rings here that will stretch over it, but it still rattles about, so it's not good enough. Right? So the next size up O-rings I've got is these thicker ones here. These are actually fridge O-rings off a low pressure valve on a fridge compressor. They'll go on as well, but then it's too big, right, and you can't get it in. So I thought this guy Matthew Collin offered to send me some. I thought that's brilliant. Right? So I sent him some money for the postage and everything, and he sent me a bag. And he did say if anyone needs some, he can get them to him as well. So if anyone needs any, if anyone else is building a bike like this, I'll send this video to him. I'll probably get an email address for him or something, put it in the video somehow so you can get in touch. So what I need to do is I need to press these onto here. Right, so I'm going to need a socket that fits, knock those on there. So that'll fit on the inside. I need to put one bearing in, drop this in the other side, then put the other bearing in, and then that's going to be captive in the swinging arm. Then I can put these in that run in the bearings, and then I can put it all together with plenty of grease. Talking about the grease, on the swinging arm itself, it was all rusty and horrible, and I think the reason it was rusty and horrible because it didn't have much grease on one end. Now, looking at it, got a problem with my nipples. Alright, so if you look at the nipples here, these are 2 brand new grease nipples I've put on. Now one grease nipple is in the right place, right, and that fits in a treat. I don't know if you can see, let me see if I can get it on the camera. Very difficult to see in there, but that's in the right place, just past the bearing Right, so it'll be just past the bearing before the washer. So when you squirt the grease in, it goes in the bearing. Now the other one is drilled too far outboard. Right, so if that's too far outboard, when you put the bearing hits the bottom of the grease nipple because the material's thicker here than it is there. So got a washer under that one to space it out so the bearing will go all the way in and drive all the way home. So like all the best people, I've got slightly odd nipples. Now it doesn't matter because that lives upside down underneath the bike, doesn't matter anyway, alright? But it means it'll be sealed and it means I can pump grease in afterwards so you don't have to take it apart, which is good. So nipple problem sorted. Everything's ready to go back in. Bearings are ready to go back in. Now everything's pretty tight here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bearings outside because it's bloody cold, and they'll get cold, so they'll get smaller. And I'm going to get the swinging arm and I'm going to put it in front of my heater and warm that up, and hopefully that'll make them really easy to drift in. So then I need to get everything all greasy and assemble it all together. Yeah, so that's the swinging arm. Right, so the bearings are in the swinging arm, the spacer tube's in with the new washers on it, the bearings and the centres are in at each end, so it's all ready to go back in the frame now. I just need to put these plastic caps on, which kind of protect the end of it and space it to the frame, and then there's a metal washer that sits in there to where it all crushes down. So swinging arm's ready to go back in the frame. Bonus feature, while I'm here, may as well drop the forks in. Well, yolks at least.